Hey guys, Nori here with another devlog. Over the past week I did a lot of development to get kind of like the early prototype ready, so I hope you'll enjoy this episode. So first things first when starting a game, it's that you need assets. Now I'm no artist, and since this will be just an early prototype, I'll try to find some art online. The site I'm using is itch.io. After a while, I was able to find something that looked good. It's called the Tiny Adventure Pack. They have a free version and it's a really simplistic graphic style, which kind of suits what I had in mind originally. So let's download it. Now that I have all these assets, it's time to figure out how to implement them. A Brachy's video on tile maps. This should help me a lot. So the tutorial by Brachy's was really helpful and easy to follow. After watching it, I was easily able to create my own tile map and created a simple level. Now we just need to place a character and add some play movement, and this game will start to take its shape. I've implemented play movement. It was a relatively easy task to do, but as you can see, I seem to be just walking through the terrain. I think it's because I haven't set up my colliders for the terrain yet. And as of now, the player only faces one direction when they walk. But that's okay, I'll get their characters to change direction once I've implemented the player's crosshair. So I was able to implement the crosshair. I got the asset from Kenny's, and I'll leave a link in the description to their website. He uploads a bunch of high quality assets for free. But anyway, the implementation of the cursor was very easy. It's just following the player's mouse position essentially. But I'm not sure on the sprite that I'm using. Like, do you guys think I should change the crosshair sprite? But anyway, that's all I did for day one of development. So yesterday I was able to get a lot of basic functionality done, but today I want to improve on a lot of the stuff that I implemented yesterday and add a few new features to make existing features feel more complete. Now, what I like to do when I have a lot of tasks is write down a list of what I want to get done today. And today I want to add player rotation, add camera movement, add weapons, add an enemy, add a basic combat system, and so on. So a lot to do. First, let's get started with character rotation. It looks a bit weird that he doesn't face the crosshair, so let's fix that. The code itself was relatively straightforward to implement. I'm just rotating the character when the crosshair is behind them. However, when I changed the player's rigid body from kinematic to dynamic, there was some interesting bugs. When the player collides with the terrain, they seem to like to rotate. Thankfully this was an easy fix, I just had to turn off gravity. So with that done, let's get started working on the camera movement. I really like how Forager implements their camera, so let's try to do something similar. This was the most difficult thing that I've had to implement so far. The way I did it is that there's essentially like a virtual box covering a portion of the screen, and once the character leaves that box, the box will move towards the player. Overall, I like how it works right now, but still it could have some improvement. Now, after working on this for a while and implementing a ton of different features, I think it's time for some lunch. Okay, so I've just had lunch and let's get started working on the player attack and player attack animation. When I'm not quite sure on how to implement things, I find it very effective to use good old pen and paper to problem solve it. Since I want the sword to follow the direction of the mouse, I think it has to be attached to its own game object on the player. Because if it's on the character's game object, it will make the character rotate with it. So after implementing it for a bit, I was able to get the attack animation to attack in the right direction, and the sword is attached to the player, but as you can see, the sword isn't facing the player. Right now, I'm not quite sure how to fix this. I've tried a lot of different things, but it just isn't working. So there's no point in banging my head against the wall, so I'll come back to this later. I wanted a change of atmosphere, so I went to Cafe to work more on my game. While working there, I was able to implement a basic combat system. Now the player can damage and actually kill enemies. So now it's time for some dinner and have a break for the rest of the day. From Friday onwards, I was super busy, so I wasn't able to film a lot of what I was doing. But don't worry, I was still implementing a lot. Over this time, I was refactoring my code base to be more extendable and was working on implementing an enemy AI system, which was a long and difficult task, but I was able to complete a basic enemy AI. The enemy now has an aggro range, and if the player enters it, they will move towards the player. If the player escapes the aggro range, the enemy will stop following them and path back to their, original position. However, I've only implemented basic pathfinding, so the enemy will only move in a straight line, and it doesn't avoid terrains or anything like that, or collisions. And finally, the enemy can attack the player. However, I'm still not satisfied with how it's working, and we'll try to improve on it later. But yeah, this was my previous week in game development. I'm hoping to get a demo ready within the next 2 to 3 weeks, so you guys can try it out and give me feedback. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. See ya!